And last but not least, the roof. The roof is not on fire, but it probably will be a few times during this video. So I think what we're going to do is I think we're going to take that drip edge, we're going to cut it, and we're going to bring it down to match this drip edge. And then we're going to flat back this, which all sounds really easy to do, but I'm sure is going to go and cause many headaches. First, we've got to go and get this welding wire in straight from Italy. This is my favorite brand to use in flux core. I'll post a link if you need some. It didn't come in until 7 o'clock last night, so we're going to get it thrown in here. A lot of people have asked how much welding wire have I used so far on the project. The answer is I'm betting about 3 pounds of welding wire. I've been through one of these, and last night with the Vevor welder, I welded on this for another like 2 hours or so, redoing a bunch of finish welds. And so I'm probably at about 3 pounds of welding wire so far. See that? See how it has a nice, decent line that comes across right there? The sun is not playing fair, but I'm pretty sure you can see just how dimpled and warped that is. So we've got to go in here and we've got to relief cut this. We've got to hammer this all back so that it flows back to here before we start monkeying with this drip edge. So we'll probably cut the drip edge entirely off right here. Then we'll bring it down into this on both sides, light ourselves on fire with all this epoxy, and then we'll start messing around with figuring out the roof line. Not the most highly productive day ever, but I did make this panel, and I used RTV sealant in order to stick some inner tube on the bottom of it so that this acts as a hatch that should be removable right in here and shouldn't bounce around too much. And once there's a battery in there, that should hold it down without too much of an issue. Now it will shift a little bit forward, and then I can put a mounting bolt or two right through this piece that I welded in earlier. And the blue residue is because before I had to leave, I grabbed my total boat here and stuck it in a sprayer, and this is regular standard rust. This is what it turns it into after 3 or 4 hours, and by tomorrow morning this will be a darker color even. And I went down through and I sprayed every seam in order to seal it up so it doesn't flash rust. I sprayed the inside of this because with the sprayer I can get it up into all kinds of different places. And we took this and we pulled back on it while pounding on it with a hammer to act like a dolly because we couldn't get in there. And so now it's got a little bit of a warp right there, but I think we're just going to run it and start sorting out the idea of getting this to come down into this. So I cut that off there, I filleted it down across here, that gave us this piece. I then put a little bit of an angle here and held it down this way, and then took a bandsaw to it to slice that off. And now I think plus or minus we can make that work. And then once I do that to both sides, we'll take this and we'll thump it down in, and then maybe figure out where we want to flatten out the back on this. On an episode of Hindsight is 2020, I don't know what is in this filler, epoxy, seam sealer, whatever that is in this, but it keeps exploding out the welds. Hindsight is 2020. On the other side, I'm gonna go and cut every bit of this back like 2 inches. We've got that one pretty well curled around. I'm going to take a cold chisel and drive this up into here so that we can make a triangle piece for this. And I've got to try and weld that together a little bit under there. But first, I've got to chisel a bunch of that out of my way. There's a nice pretty sky. And there is a not so pretty weld. But at this point, I'm confident that I can get it tied together. So tomorrow we'll work on the other side. We got this piece here that we got to fillet down the side. And I've had one constant question that has been coming up. And if I had to pick one tool that would make this job so much easier to have that I would purchase to do this next time, it would have to be either a bandsaw like this that was rolled out front so that I could get to it instead of having to come all the way in the back of my shop over and over and over again, or it would be a tabletop portable bandsaw that I could set out there and be able to work on. But this, without question, definitely has been the fastest time saver for me. You can do a lot with a grinder and a cutoff disc, but when it comes to precision cutting, you can't beat the bandsaw. Or at least that's my opinion. Tell me what you think down below. Here we go. I think we're gonna run this idea. It's not the prettiest thing in the world, but it'll be very functional. I think what I'm going to do after lunch is grab a piece of EMT conduit and grab the pipe bender that was sent to me by Vevor and see if we can bend a piece that fits up inside of there, and then we can relief cut these high points and bend them down and weld them to the top of the conduit. And then the conduit will give us a solid point in order to work from to make a piece that drops down and connects everything. And yes, I know, EMT conduit has galvanized blah 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 on it, and I'm outside in the wind. I will be fine. On today's episode of Trial by Fire, we've got our Vevor pipe bender. I think somebody in marketing didn't plan ahead because it mounts in this direction and that's upside down. We've got a standard piece of 3/4 inch 10-foot EMT conduit, which is measured on the inside, so therefore we've got a 1-inch die in here, and we're just going to bend it up and see if this idea will work. So let's set this with about 2 inches of extra, and I'll pull this up here, and you can go ahead and run the bar. Come on, you can do it. Put all 80 pounds into it. Come on. Go, go. 80 pounds. Give it to it. All right, let's see if I help you. Wait a minute. Go ahead. Keep going, and I'm going to pull this. Yeah, if I help you, you can do it, right? Okay, keep going. Keep going. Go, go, go. Go, go, a little further. We want just close to a 90. A little more, right there. Let's stop there, and let's see if this will fit. Yep, go ahead. Yep, keep going. A little more, right there. That's pretty close to how the other side is. Let's call that, and let's see what we got going on. Got it? Mm-hmm. Alright, so we gotta undo the nut on the bottom of this, and then pop this up. This pops sideways, and then this lifts off in order to get the piece out. Set that back in there so we don't lose it. That nut and bolt does not make it through by very much. It's only like 3 threads. So I'll probably make something better for that later. But at this point, we got to match this up and cut it and see what we can do. Yeah, thank you. That is by no means perfect, but considering it's the first time John and I have ever tried to go and use that pipe bender, or any pipe bender for that matter, together, I think we're gonna go with it. Not to mention, this thing's got a ton of dents all through it. This whole upper panel is warped. So I think using this bar in order to square it off and just be done with it, I think is gonna work out really good in the end. I am not going to sugarcoat at all how much that absolutely sucked to do. This has definitely been my first time in not liking welding on this van. Whatever this metal is that the roof is made out of is way thinner than the rest of the body. This is the first time me and the hitbox have really had some difficulty getting things welded in. I blew through way more holes than I was expecting to. This is way thinner metal than the rest of the body. To do it again, I probably would have just plain out pounded these down on something. I wouldn't have relief cut it and tried to bend it down. I would have just hammered them in. We're not after fashion here, we're after function, and I made the wrong choice. But that's why I'm sharing with you. That way you can learn from my stupidity. That project screams filler and seam sealer. Every time I go anywhere near that sheet metal that is so thin that roof is made out of, I just blow holes in it. So I've got it tack welded down really well to the pipe. I'm just going to fill that with something, haven't quite figured out what yet. And I'm going to go back through probably and add in every other tack to this, and that's going to get a bunch of seam sealer in it. Now I got to do the other side. Minus the fact I'm working on rebuilding the bumper mount that is rusted out, I would say from this angle, that doesn't look too bad on the way I did that roof. As I come around here, that looks acceptable to me. The white, unfortunately, makes it stand out a little bit. But in all honesty, it looks pretty close to those high-rise van rear ends that you see with the really lifted doors and stuff. So it really doesn't look that far out of place. Need to make a couple of triangular pieces on the sides, but that should work out. Oh, on the aspect of learning after the fact, I'm gonna have to probably find some new rear windows at some point, because I didn't realize that these were like factory Lexan or plexiglass or something, and the welder sparkles left their mark all over the top of both sides. So yeah, whatever these are, they've either got a really, really thick plastic coating on the outside, or they're Lexan or plexiglass or something, and I've got to find a solution. Well, I think we're going to end this video here, and thank you so much for the support. Thank you for all the advice that's been coming in, whether it's nicely worded or whether it's rudely worded. I appreciate all the advice. An auto body guy, I am not. A metal worker and a junker by heart, I definitely am. As is John over here, making aluminum boats or something over here in this bucket. What is this?
It's a boat.
So you moved on from the ones that look like hats to now you make them in kind of a crumpled look?
I made a boat. Well, it's supposed to be a pirate boat, and I made a submarine.
Okay, so are you going to be the next YouTube fabricator on the channel?
Maybe.
Aye. Well, maybe someday there'll be a genre called aluminum boat. Alright, what do we say to the people?
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.